CBS Sports Radio 1300 is WJZ Baltimore. WJZ HD3 Catonsville, Baltimore. The flagship station for Towson Tiger football and Towson men's basketball.
The opinions expressed in the following paid program do not necessarily represent those of WJZ AM 1300, CBS Radio, its employees and sponsors. A Maven, an expert, an authority, a connoisseur, a specialist, a professional, a knowledge king, a rock and roll sports talker. Coons Ford of Security Boulevard is proud to present The Sports Maven with Bruce Posner, a no-holds-barred look at the sports world. Now, here's Bruce Posner, The Sports Maven.
Welcome in, everybody, this cold Saturday. It feels so good for my buddy from Boca, Freddy. I know he must be loving this weather because I saw Governor Scott on TV this morning, and it looks like it must be 85 down in Florida, Freddy. Welcome to Be More, baby.
Well, we're going to play 9 holes afterwards. After that, we'll get some hot coffee.
All right. Big day today for the Terps. They go to Michigan after a horrendous loss against Nebraska on Sunday. 3-15 against Michigan. First time they've really had a true road game this year, and they are 7.5-point underdogs, which kind of tells you about who is expected to win and why. But for the details of that, we're going to go into with the second segment with my buddy, our buddy, Terp Talks buddy, and that, of course, is Todd Carton. And we're also going to talk about the Calvin Ashley saga, which is, for those of you who haven't heard about it, and that's probably 80% of the audience, that Calvin Ashley is a 5-star offensive tackle, and he committed to Auburn, and then the rumor was he was going to come to Maryland. He was going to decommit. And then he announced he's definitely going to Auburn, and now it's back up in the air of him coming to Maryland. Todd's on top of it. We'll hear about it. It'll be a great get for Coach Durkin, but who knows? So I start off the show this morning with a question that I don't know if you ever heard of him, but I'm curious, see if Freddie has, and that is, who is Giannis Antetokounmpo?
That's the Greek freak. He is he is the next generational player, I believe. 6'11", extremely athletic, has wonderful skills. He handles the ball like a point guard. He is their point guard at times. He can drive. He's a great passer. He can block shots. He can defend. He is truly a freak, and he is the next generational player in the NBA.
Bruce, can I get you to try that one more time?
What? Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's what I said.
We call him the Greek freak. It's easier.
And listen, he is a freak because he looks like Michael Jordan in Space Jam when he's up there, making a dunk from the free throw line.
You know what he kind of reminds me of? He reminds me of a slightly taller Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't handle the ball as well.
Well, he's a point. But
I saw him last night against the Knicks guarding Porzingis.
Yeah.
In other words, he can guard the center, but he brings the ball up. He's got a great shot. He can drive the bucket, and they lost.
Like Freddie said, he is a point forward.
Porzingis ate him up last night. Both those guys had really, really good games. Porzingis is very, very talented, but Magic. Well, let's see. Magic could pass extremely well, handle the ball, and run their show. This guy's overall better skills and far more athletic than Magic would ever could dream about.
Yeah,
being.
We need to see how Giannis is going to grow because he is so skinny still. And Magic was a thicker, stronger guy, even though he was also 6'10". He's an amazing player. He's one of the most fun players to watch in basketball. Right
There's no question about it, but he's not that true point guard. He can handle the ball.
No. He can do anything you want him to do,
He's like
and he'll do it above average.
But they need this guy Middleton back to really be the point guard to spread the floor. I thought in the fourth quarter their offense kind of fell apart, which is why they lost to the lowly Knicks, who were on a 6-game losing streak.
Well, they had just won the previous game. It was a home and home, and Giannis hit a game-winning buzzer beater in Madison Square Garden.
Turn around, fall away. Great shot. The Wizards, we've been on their case forever. They're now 17-18. John Wall, 18 points, 18 assists. Very strong numbers for him, Freddie. Oubre's playing better. Otto Porter's playing better. but they're still a mediocre team that will make the playoffs.
They need a big banger inside. They've had some success now with Porter and Oubre playing at forwards. Both 6'7", lengthy defensive players, very athletic, but not bulky guys. So they're depending only on Gortat and Morris to hit the boards, and they could use a banger inside.
Without question, but they are playing much, much better from that disastrous start.
No question. Obviously, Brooks is a very, very good coach, and John Wall has stepped up his game and now playing like many of the point guards are these days, where they're the leading scorer, leading assist guy. Guys are going for triple-triples, double-triples every game almost.
Well, I love 18 assists. All right, when you hear a number, over 15 assists, the guy's playing some ball. Now the biggest joke, once again, the NBA, it's like you're feeding the good teams. Kyle Korver is on his way to Cleveland. And Kyle Korver will be an absolute stud in Cleveland because you're always wide open.
He's going to look like Ray Allen on the Heat.
Yeah, he's the next Ray Allen. He's the next Miller from the kid that played at Florida and went on to the NBA. So your designated veteran three-point shooter who can understands his role, isn't upset if he doesn't get a lot of minutes, but goes in there and fires up. I think he's about a 43% career three-point shooter.
Yeah, I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth. He's a better shooter than Ray Allen was.
You might. I mean, I'm not sure if Kyle Korver's hitting that shot at the end of Game 6 in the finals, but at the same time, he has proven his entire career that he is one of the elite three-point shooters in the game.
And should he shoot like that, there won't be a need for him to hit the final three-pointer and tie the game.
All he needs to do is play 15 minutes a game, and he's going to have 6 or 7 wide-open looks every single game. It's broken. It's the same thing with the Warriors. You have broken teams where it's just like there's always going to be someone who can shoot open.
Where have we gone with basketball, though, in the NBA about the proliferation of the teams that are really strong and like the rest of the league almost doesn't exist? And it's almost like a team like Milwaukee who's on the rise with Giannis, that it's almost like it doesn't exist. Where's their real chance to win? When's it going to happen? As long as LeBron keeps that nucleus in Cleveland. And it doesn't seem like he's leaving Cleveland now for a while.
Isn't it funny how the NFL and the NBA contrasts? Because when the NFL has this perception of parity, everybody complains about the quality of play, and there's no greatness in the league beyond 1 or 2 teams. And right now, it's like that in the NBA, where you have greatness. You have these teams that we're going to be remembering and talking about for 25 years, but we don't have that power coming up from the bottom. But my counter would be, it's still worth watching the Timberwolves. Maybe you don't think that they're going to win this year. You don't think they're going to win the championship this year. But they have this cast of characters in the NBA of young, under 25-year-old players, whether it's on the Knicks, on the Timberwolves, on the, like we said, on the Bucks. There's a lot of really worthwhile players.
But
watching
unless
right now.
these teams like Milwaukee and with the young stars that get good quick, and enabling them to re-sign these superstars to the extended contract, what's going to happen is like what happened with Minnesota years ago when Marbury and Kevin Garnett were together, and they had building a nice foundation, and one guy wants to leave, and then the team falls apart because you can't build on it.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, is that better?
Just say the Greek freak, Yamashugana.
Yeah. Listen, he signed a 4-year extension this year for $100 million. He's not going anywhere. Now, the real difference between the NBA, since you brought it up, in the NFL, is that when an NFL team does great, wins a Super Bowl, everybody heads for the raft. Everybody heads to leave because the careers are so much shorter. And the money is so much less. Yeah. So, in other words, it's like, okay, I had a great year. I'm out of here. I got to get my money because I might only have 3 years left. So nobody cares about the team once you win a Super Bowl. There's very few Tom Brady's. There's very few guys who are going to stay, like Steve Smith, who I saw a 60-minute football life on him last night, and I didn't realize how bad it was. He was thrown out of Carolina.
Absolutely.
Literally cut, released without being told. Because Cam Newton didn't like him or he couldn't get along with him.
They also don't have the incentives to keep the players. In the CBA and the NBA, there's a lot of incentive a lot of the time for teams to sign up their own players. There's more flexibility with the cap. It's definitely a really interesting direction that they're going to be going in, especially with the new CBA coming up.
So anyway, Kyle Korver goes to Cleveland, and it just enhances their possibilities of repeating. Golden State looks great. I think San Antonio is still a force. They have that edge and size.
Houston looks great.
Houston looks okay. Well, Harden looks great. All right.
They're playing really, really good ball.
They are.
Oklahoma City's playing very good ball. Not great. They're a little, probably a step below the top echelon teams. But it's Cleveland. It's Golden State, San Antonio. Those are the teams that.
The gauntlet in the West, Freddie, can wear out Golden State to get to that final, where Cleveland is going to snooze to the final. I mean, they're going to open up against the Wizards, possibly. Give me a break. All right, 3 games and you're out. And, who do they have to play? I don't even know. I mean, like a team like Atlanta's thrown in the towel now. I just don't see it. And you know what else I can't believe, Freddie? Jake Layman hasn't played in 20 games.
That's because Jake Layman is learning the game, and he's going to have to take his time and be patient. But
when you're down by 20 points in the fourth quarter, isn't that when you see what these guys can do?
I would think there's probably guys ahead of them they're looking at before Jake Layman, unfortunately for Jake.
Wow, I just
look, he's lucky to be in the league.
He's happy to be in the league.
He's got a contract. He sits the first row of every NBA game, which is a great seat. He travels first class, nice hotels.
Funny
it's
thing,
not a bad life.
I was watching, who was Portland playing the other day? Was it Golden State? And it was kind of close at the end.
It was.
And I was watching Jake. He kind of was in the huddles and up front.
He's the hype man,
right? And except that on that team, he kind of looks small, And he's not a small guy, but on that team, he doesn't look
the NBA is something else.
He doesn't look imposing whatsoever. Who knows? All right, where do we go from here? Steve Smith Sr. retires from the NFL, and he sends a note to Goodell, which was hysterical. That let the defensive backs rejoice.
He will not be antagonizing defensive backs anymore.
Great. Steve Smith Sr. is going to be missed. I always thought the Ravens could get him for another year, and it's one more hole the Ravens have to fill, and it's not an easy hole to fill per se. And the final story before we head to the first break, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I still don't believe Harbaugh should have been let go. I've never been of that ilk. But not to move on from the coordinators is just mind-boggling to me.
Well, it's a simple thing. He pretty much knows that next year is do or die. And for him, it's a lot easier, more comfortable to go in with the people he's comfortable with than trying to bring in somebody new with a new system. When you have the 1 year to do it, you can't sit there and hope for a new system to click in. So he's comfortable with the guys. They'll make adjustments. Hopefully they'll start saying, hey, Joe has a strong arm. I never noticed that. We should go deep because – and the amazing thing is when you think about this year and talking with Tressman and Marty about, well, we got to run the ball more. These are the guys that are calling every play. They have it in front of them. But they look at the run and go, we should run, but let's pass again. That's the lack of common sense that it baffles me, and it baffles probably a lot of guys on the team.
50 passes a game isn't going to work. It worked against Miami. They had a out-of-body experience in that game, but it didn't work the rest of the season. And the dinks and dunks just get to you.
He's not that kind of quarterback. He's not a finesse quarterback. He's a guy who throws the ball downfield. They need to go play action, run the ball, put him under center, drop back, play action, freeze the cornerbacks, freeze the linebackers, and throw the ball deep and take advantage of his skills.
3rd and 8, and you throw a 5-yard pass and hope Steve Smith can get 3 yards. Well, guess what? Steve Smith isn't there next year. Who's going to be the possession receiver? They don't have that guy if Steve Smith's not there.
One guy they could consider moving out to the wide end is Dennis Pitta because he doesn't block, but he's got size. He can move, and he'd be a perfect possession type. He has a possession receiver.
Well, that's the guy he goes to. You saw it in the last game when Steve Smith might have been honored a little bit with more than 3 targets, and he wasn't. And Pitta had 11 catches, but. If you put everything you have on Pitta in that position, I don't wish him ill. I love him. He's been great. He was great this year. He had a super year.
No, receiving, he doesn't block, though. And as a tight end, and particularly the team that wants to run or it professes they want to run. You need a guy inside who can block, a tight end. So maybe moving at him to the slot or out wide occasionally because the lack of receivers that they have, that would open up for Pitta and keep him in the lineup and get somebody in there who can block so they can run the ball a little bit better and protect better. I
think they want that to be either Nick Boyle or Max Williams, considering the fact that they have invested. I think they're ready to watch.
Max Williams went way down this year.
No kidding. But, I think they're ready to watch Dennis Pitta walk away. But at the same time,
they're fearful that, he's one, hit in the hip away.
Yeah.
Every guy in the NFL is one hit away.
Not when you had two hip operations.
That's true.
He made it through the whole season fine.
I got to tell you, though, Bruce, I was at the press conference on Tuesday where Harbaugh made this announcement, and it was like a surreal feeling in the room.
Did everybody get gasped when he said it?
No, because people are more professional than that, but people did start looking at each other. And I had to cover my face because I felt like my jaw was about to hit the ground. Because that wasn't the only ridiculous thing that he said in that press conference. First of all, just for the record, his official reasoning for keeping Marty Mornhinweg is because he believes in the West Coast offense. And I don't know how the West Coast offense equates to running the ball more, although he keeps saying that Marty believes in running the ball and they need to run the ball more. But the West Coast offense isn't exactly the biggest, running offense in football. But they say that he has the experience, Marty, of running the West Coast offense going back to the late 80s with the 49ers, and that's why he's being kept. For me, it's just going back to what Freddie said. He is keeping him because they know that Marty Mornhinweg won't be the interim coach if they decide that Harbaugh isn't getting off to a good start next year. If they bring in a guy like Norv Turner or they bring in a guy like Mike McCoy,
and they're 0-3.
That's the new head coach of the Baltimore Ravens right there.
Right.
Well, I think it's unlikely that they're going to fire Harbaugh mid-season.
Wouldn't do it.
Secondly, it's very difficult.
If they were 0-4,
if you're
0-6 maybe.
If you're a top-notch offensive coordinator, you're not coming to Baltimore next year because it's a one-and-done season, and guys look at it that way because if they don't win, they're gone, and then you're looking for another job again.
Or they're looking for a new head coaching opportunity.
If you pay somebody that would come, even a Norv Turner, if you're willing to step up and really pay him almost like a head coach, which is what they had to do with Kubiak. But listen, more than Marty Mornhinweg, to me, the onus on a guy that had to be let go, to me, was Dean Pease. What happened in that Pittsburgh game was absolutely mind-boggling. 3 touchdowns in a period, the worst conceivable defense in the final minute 18, no ingenuity, no mass throwing the kitchen sick in a pass rush, nothing. They just let him go down the field, and they let Antonio Brown beat him when they didn't try anything.
Let me ask you a question. We discussed this the other night with Dennis. You're talking about now. I agree 100% that the prevent defense to me is like looking to lose rather than looking to win. But the entire year they had trouble rushing the pass. So who all of a sudden is going to step up in a game like this to rush? Dumerville? No. Suggs? No. They're missing safeties. They're missing cornerbacks. Their line play wasn't that good. You can't. Look again. I agree about the way they played the defense, but you don't have the horses. You're not going to stop anybody. And the alarming thing the last couple of years is that they've a lot of times, several times, 3-4 times this year, a couple of times last year, teams have gone down the field the last possession for a winning, not field goal, winning touchdown. That's very alarming.
And that's on Dean Pease. I don't care what anybody says. It's also on
Ozzie Smith because there's no players. You can't stop if you don't have players.
Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Smith.
It's the cold. It's the snow. Ozzie and Harry.
Ozzie Smith. All right, we got to head out to our first break. This is Bruce Posner along with Freddie from Boca. We'll be back here in a few minutes here on CBS Sports Radio 1300. There's no better place in Baltimore to buy your new or used car from than Coons Ford on Security Boulevard, across from Security Mall. Over the years, I have purchased many cars and trucks for GM Dennis Colatzos, receiving the best price, service, and comfort in dealing with a top-notch executive. Coons Ford Turp Talk listeners can view their inventory at CoonsFordBaltimore.com. Coons Ford carries a huge inventory of Motor Trend's Car of the Year, the Fusion, Hybrid Escapes, the 35-mile-per-gallon Focus, Mustangs, Expeditions, and of course the F-Series trucks. Coons Ford simply likes to make a little bit of money many times. What a great place to buy your new Ford. That's Coons Ford of Baltimore, 6970 Security Boulevard, across from Security Square Mall. Take exit 17 off of $6.95. Remember, when you're talking cars, you're talking Coons.
Call 410-298-3800.
In selecting a professional, you always look to the backgrounds of the persons involved, particularly involving their experience, competence, and established performance. In Maryland, there's one number one leader with regard to personal injury claims, and that's the firm of Science & Kirk. Science & Kirk have handled more auto accident cases than any law firm in the history of the state. The Science family is on their third generation of attorneys that extend all the way back to the 1920s. Donald and his three sons make a formidable team representing their clients. Call their hotline 24/7 at 1-800-LAWYERS for assistance. That's 1-800-LAWYERS for assistance from Science & Kirk. Kelly Exchange is your one-stop shop for individual and family health insurance coverage. On kellyexchange.com, you can learn about healthcare reform, find out if you qualify for a subsidy, get quotes, compare insurance plans, and purchase coverage. With over 36 years of experience in the insurance industry, kellyexchange.com is the only website you need to help you navigate the complexities and confusion of healthcare reform and purchase quality insurance for you and your family. Visit kellyexchange.com today. Baltimore, listen up. If you want crabs, you have to head to the Costas Inn on North Point Boulevard. There is no comparison in all of Maryland for the greatest crabs and crab cakes ever. Costas also serves unbelievable steamed shrimp, Greek salads, and steaks for lunch and dinner. Nick, Pete, and Costas Triantopoulos run the perfect restaurant to go with family and friends. Give Costas Inn a call at 410-477-1975 and tell them the Turp Talk guy sent you. Parsonizing Fine Dry Cleaning, the best in Baltimore. Located at Crondall Corner Shopping Center, 410-356-9600, and Woodhome Square Shopping Center, 410-653-1881. They specialize in fine dry cleaning, expert shirt service, elegant hand cleaning, men's and ladies' alterations. They are the best, the Parson Brothers, 410-356-9600. Mayer and Steinberg are insurance brokers representing Hartford, Travelers, Liberty Mutual, and Zurich, among others, specializing in restaurants, bars, law firms, accounting firms, and wholesalers. Workman's compensation is my good friend Paul Robinson's specialty, including contractors like heating, air conditioning, and landscape companies. Call them at 410-484-7000 and ask for Paul Robinson. Mayer & Steinberg is a 55-year-old insurance agency, family-owned and operated. They can also shop your current insurance coverages and in many instances save you premium. You can trust Mayer & Steinberg. My family and friends have done business with Paul and Mayer & Steinberg for years. There is no one better to represent you for your insurance needs. Call Mayer & Steinberg at 410-484-7000. At Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, the professionals provide the highest quality care to the patients. My friends over at Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center are fellowship-trained, board-certified neurosurgeons and interventional pain specialists that specialize in treating all spinal and intracranial disorders with more than 20 years of combined experience. The practice is founded by Dr. Ira Goranczyk and his partner is Jim Conway. These two doctors are perennial Baltimore's top doctors. Not only do they perform complex inpatient procedures, but they also specialize in minimally invasive outpatient surgeries. If you're having problems with your neck or back, call my good friends Dr. Ira Goranczyk and Dr. James Conway at Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, 410-664-3680. Once again, that's Baltimore's best, 664-3680.
Welcome back to Sports Maven, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, once again, here's Bruce Posner, Sports Maven.
All right, back here on segment 2, and heated discussion during the break. Got a great question from Stan Charles to Coach Harbaugh that he answered a little bit surprisingly, and we'll get to that. In fact, let's play it now, okay? Play it now. I'll mess up the order here a little bit. Go ahead.
Part of what the team has gone through the past 4 years sort of resultant of how the salary cap hits you with the quarterback making the big money? Is it harder to fit in the pieces to be that team that can win 11 or 12 games?
Yes, there's no question about it. And I think if you look at the successful teams, it's one of two types of situations. You've got the young quarterback that's performing at a high level, or a reasonably high level, who's making his rookie contract, and you've got a team around him that's using up the rest of the salary cap. Or you've got the quarterback that carries the team, so to speak. That guy, maybe not carries the team. Let me rephrase that. That quarterback that is that guy, that legendary type of a guy, Tom Brady's of the world. They built a great team around him. That's what I don't want to insinuate that they haven't done that. But those type of quarterbacks who make the top dollar, are that kind of a guy. So, that comes back to what we're all saying. We have a quarterback, and he's in that level of compensation. So we need to get him playing, at that level. And that's certain. Joe, absolutely, he's coming off a knee injury, and he's going to be that much further along because he's going to have an off season of training this year. And putting the group around him and putting the scheme around him that puts him into that place. That's where we're at. That's what we've got to get done because we're paying our quarterback. So that's, I think, your point, right?
Yep.
And that's exactly it.
As to being creative and smart as an organization.
Yeah, we've got to find ways to because we don't have the salary cap room that you have if you don't have that type of situation. So we've got to make tough decisions also.
That's a pretty harsh statement on Flacco. And
the follow-up question should have been, well, why are you going to stay with the West Coast offense if you want to get the guy better and he's not a West Coast offense quarterback?
Exactly.
That would be the follow-up question for me.
Yeah.
Well, the blame game is it Morningway, is it Harbaugh, is it Flacco? But listen, there was 4 straight games that the Ravens lost, and in each game they had the ball where they could have won the game or tied the game. 3 times they could have won, 1 time they could have tied. Joe went 0 for 4. Is it him? Is it the scheme? Is it the plays? It just didn't happen. He just didn't innovate for them to win. He wasn't able to scramble and make the play like Roethlisberger did against the Ravens. It just did not happen.
And,
now,
there's no
let me
impact.
finish.
Okay.
When you look, you can't blame it on him. He had a drive that gave the Ravens the lead with 1:18 left, and had Usek, fell down and not made a great play, that's old news. But maybe they would have won. Maybe they wouldn't have won. But we'll get back to it in our last segment because I got Todd Carton on the phone right now. We want to bring him in. Todd, you there?
I am here, Bruce.
Hot discussion on the Ravens, Todd, but
yeah, I heard some of it, and thanks for dedicating that last segment on Turf Talk to me, Freddie. I appreciate it.
No problem, Mr. Non-Rev. I know you like that segment more than any other.
Well, let's get down to the Rev stuff for Maryland. Of course, we're talking about Revenue Sports. Before we get into your preview of the Michigan game today, Todd, let's hear about the Calvin Ashley saga, where he was going to Auburn, then coming to Maryland, then going back to Auburn, and now it seems like it's up in the air again. Give a brief summary.
Okay, well, Calvin Ashley is a huge offensive tackle. He plays for St. John's High School in D.C., so he's a teammate of Kasim Hill, Cam Spence, and Kofi Wardlow, who are all coming to Maryland from that school. He committed to Auburn back in May of 2015, so he's been an Auburn commit for a really long time. Apparently, the teammates, the coaches have all been working on him. He's a local kid. He wants to stay local, and there was this discussion on Friday or Thursday that he was going to flip or announce his decommitment from Auburn. The internet blew up about it. The Baltimore Sun picked up a story off of IMS and ran a story that they then retracted. And apparently he got a little freaked out about it. He's a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. He's feeling pressure from Auburn. They got back in touch with him. And so he tweeted out that he was 110% committed. But he didn't say he was committed to what. He just said, I'm 110% committed. Didn't say Auburn. So people were reading tea leaves. Right now, folks that I've heard from that kind of know some of the kids at St. John's are still pretty high on the fact that he's going to eventually flip. It could happen in the next couple of weeks. It could be after he takes an official visit to Auburn, which he has scheduled for the weekend of the 20th.
So it's up in the air, but it's
up in the air. But it would be just a huge thing for Maryland because he'll probably play from day one and be able to slot into the right tackle position, which would then allow Maryland to sort of move a guy like Damian Prince off of tackle and into guard, where he'll be much more effective as a college player. So it would be a huge get for Maryland, and he'd probably be the highest recruit in this class.
The saga goes on, and I guess, well, when is signing day, Todd?
February the 1st.
So we're getting down to D-Day.
We are. Yeah, but folks are saying, they were expecting that if he flips, it will be late in the month. And some folks are saying that he feels like he's been committed to Auburn for such a long time that he at least owes them the official visit and that he's going to take the official visit on the weekend of the 20th.
All right, let's move on to the Michigan game today. Maryland, for the first time, this is their first true road game of the year where they're going into enemy territory, and we'll see how the freshmen play because it's always different on the road. 7.5-point underdog. Todd, how tough is this game going to be for the Terps today?
I think this is going to be a really tough game for Maryland. First of all, remember Maryland went into Michigan last year with the number 3 rated team in the country and managed to lose up there. Michigan shoots, they basically shoot half their shots from 3-point range. They have 2 really big guys, a guy named Moritz Wagner, who's 6'11", and shoots 47% from 3-point range. So I don't know who Maryland has that's going to guard him out there when he steps out and takes 2, 3, 4, 5 shots a game from beyond the arc. And then inside they have another 6'10" guy, DJ Wilson, who is perfectly capable of scoring, but he gets 7 rebounds and a block and a half a game. So that's a tough matchup for Maryland.
I was looking at the Iowa game where DJ Wilson, listen to this line. He was 11 for 18 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3 points. He had 14 rebounds and 6 assists.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Maryland has a guy like that. So
no, and who's Maryland going to play with no Checo available? So you're looking at Dodd and Bender. I just don't know how they're going to match up with that. And again, Michigan just shoots pretty well from 3. They're very efficient. They don't turn the ball over. They turn the ball over less than any team in the country, about 9 a game.
So they'd be a tough team to press. If you go zone, they would like that because they like to shoot from the outside. So how man for man, we don't match up well inside particularly well. So how does Maryland go attack defensively against Michigan?
I think Maryland's got to just really defend the 3 because, again, Beeline historically there at Michigan has had that team launch a lot of 3s. I think if you watch the Iowa game, for all the great line that Wilson had, still think Michigan took half their shots. I think they had 35 shots from 3-point range.
Yeah, they only hit 12 that day for them. But you looked, Freddie brought up the point, 21 assists and 8 turnovers on the road. I'm not sure. I can't remember a game when Maryland had that kind of discrepancy on the positive side. I mean, that's special, yet they still lost.
Yeah, and not only that, but Iowa, think about this. Iowa had to shoot 11 from 19 from 3-point range.
Right. It could be.
We could have won by 3.
Yeah, it could have a bad defensive team, though. Or, I haven't seen them, haven't watched them closely. Freddie, you called me the other day. They were down by 12 at home.
Down by 12 to Penn State. They eked out the win. They're a solid team. They just were flat that game, but came on nicely. But there's definitely talent, and Beeline's a top level coach, and it'd be a tough game for the Terps today, no question.
Yeah, 8-point dogs, and they come back to play a woeful, all of a sudden, Indiana team, which is almost unbelievable for Indiana. all right, to lose at Assembly Hall, two straight home games, it doesn't happen, especially when they're a ranked team.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising, but one of them was Nebraska, who's now 3-0 in conference because Nebraska beat Iowa in another really exciting game the other night.
The Big Ten is in a little bit of a shakeup. Seems like Michigan State's coming around, but look, Maryland lost the game. When you look at the schedule before the season starts, you take a look at this Michigan game, and you're not too confident about the win with the way Michigan was touted preseason. Well, they lost the game they shouldn't have lost. And not because Nebraska's good or bad. You're up by 12 at home with 6 minutes to go. You can't lose that game. They did. They did.
Absolutely.
And now they got to come back with looks like what's going to have to be a super effort to win at Michigan, come home on Tuesday night against Indiana. But now we're in the heart of the schedule, and I have to tell you the truth, I love it. Every game is good, every game is tough, and this is where you earn your spurs. And it's going to be tough for Maryland to go better than 11-7 or 10-8 in this with this schedule. There is no patsies. They got 2 games against Rutgers, and outside of that, any one of the games remaining, certainly you look at Purdue, Michigan State, they do have the edge of the schedule, having Purdue and Michigan State at home without having to go there. Big advantage. Also Indiana, but I'm not sure about Indiana. But Todd, what's your thought on the going forward? And we do know, if you verify this or not, the rumor is that Sikorsky's going to be back much earlier. Is that correct?
I've heard little about that, so I'm not going to go out on a limb and talk about Sikorsky. Right now, I know he's not available today, and we'll see where he is next week.
And then again, how tough defense does Maryland play today? I guess we'll get to see that, but whatever, we'll move on.
Yeah, Roman Stubbs had an interesting story in the Washington Post this morning and talked about how Turgeon had Maryland shooting a lot of extra free throws in this practice this week leading up to this game, and I think that's reasonable because they're 8 for 16 against Nebraska. They shot 50%, and they were only 11 for 18, I think, in the win against Illinois, something like that. So you're 8 for 16 from the free throw line in a 2-point game. The arithmetic's pretty easy, right? Yeah,
without question. Todd, thanks a lot for checking in. Good job as always, my friend.
And we have the women today, too. Don't forget the
Northwestern
women
at home.
2 o'clock on, I don't think it's ESPN2, maybe?
Might be on Big Ten.
Or Big Ten, yeah, because maybe our games, Maryland men's at 3:15 on ESPN2.
Todd, is there anybody in the Big Ten who could beat Maryland besides Ohio State? I'm not sure if they can.
Ohio State is going to be a big threat. He's been working in some transfers, and they're starting to figure it out. They're really starting to figure it out. They have a really good inside player transferred up from North Carolina, Stephanie Mavunga, and with Kelsey Mitchell, that gives them a really inside-outside threat.
Todd, Stephanie Mavunga, is that her name?
Mavunga, yeah.
Mavunga. Listen, it's funny. There are no moral victories in sports, but I think there's confidential losses, rather. All right, and I think the loss to UConn was a boost in confidence for this team.
I think so, Bruce.
Yeah, definitely the way they played, I thought they was super. And losing by 6 points to a team that never loses is with honor. All right,
I agree. Can I throw one last thing? I was listening to you guys' first segment, and you were talking about the Greek Freak,
right?
And I just want to say I'm old enough to remember a real freak of a player. He wasn't 6'11", but a guy named Gus Johnson, who they called the Honeycomb, who played for the Baltimore Bullets. And Freddie, you probably remember. And then
I remember the Gus from Akron, Ohio, out of Idaho, number 25 with a gold tooth.
6'5", and played almost power forward or played anybody he wanted to. He was the real deal.
That guy was a freak.
Hall of Famer.
All right. Thanks a lot, Todd, for that reference. This is Bruce Posner. We got to head out to our second break. We'll be back in a few minutes here on CBS Sports Radio 1300. The Bagby's chain has opened up the new Bagby's Pizza and Woodhome Festival. It's pizzas and salads the way you want it. Get the Big Cheesy for $5.99 or make your own for a little more. 4 sauces, many, many toppings. Super salads, meatball specials. What a great, affordable pizzeria. Call the new Bagby's Pizza at 443-379-0566. That's the new Bagby's Pizza at 443-379-0566. I just discovered a great little neighborhood gourmet pizza and Italian-type restaurant in the harbor area. Bagby Pizza on 1006 Fleet Street is just a great, fun place to have lunch or dinner 7 days a week. Bagby's features gourmet pizza, pastas, and salads at more than reasonable prices. Service is quick, there's plenty of seating, happy hour specials Monday through Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. Herb, Bagby Pizza, 410-605-0444. Cunningham's of the Bagby's chain has been declared as one of the best restaurants in town. Located at 1 Olympic Place in Towson, Cunningham's has free valet parking and is open every night. The decor and atmosphere at Cunningham's makes you feel that you are part of a happening event. Using a wood-fired grill and oven, Cunningham's provides its guests with dishes created from the freshest seasonal and local ingredients possible. Call 410-339-7730 for a reservation. The third Bagby's has just opened in the new Foundry Row in Owings Mills. Signature super Bagby's pizzas, salads, sandwiches, pastas, and yes, even submarines. Hey, did I forget meatball subs? Bagby's Foundry Row is similar to the original Bagby's in Harbor East. Also featured next door is the Bagby Group-operated Foundry Row Wine and Spirits. 2 more winners for the Bagby's chain. Call 410-356-7226. That's Bagby's on Reisterstown Road in Owings Mills. Since 1915, Atman's Deli has been serving up the best delicatessen in Baltimore on 1019 East Lombard Street. Atman's is open 7 days a week with an incredible menu, including all your delights. Call Elaine for all your catering needs at 410-563-2666. Remember, Atman's is open every Ravens game in the stadium at Section 118. Nothing is better for me than a pastrami sandwich at Atman's Deli. Situated at 1 Olympic Place in Towson, Cunningham's Cafe and Bakery offers handcrafted breakfast, lunch, and coffee in a casual setting. Featuring house-baked breads and pastries, roasted coffees, and locally sourced eggs and produce from Cunningham Farms, the Cafe and Bakery is the perfect spot for a quick meal or snack. Parking is free across the street. Open 7 days a week. Call Cunningham's Bakery and Cafe, 410-339-7750. Bruce Posner here with a message brought to you by Chesapeake Urology. Guys, if you broke your right arm, would you just say, heck, I'll live with it, and make do with the left? Of course not. So why is it so many men with erectile dysfunction throw up their hands, assume it's just a part of getting older, and choose to live with it? The experts at Chesapeake Urology have treatments that can help virtually all men resume a normal sex life. Whether you're 40 or their doctors specialize in ED, and most treatments aren't covered by insurance. Even if you've tried pills without success, the specialists at Chesapeake Urology can show you better treatments. Don't live with something you don't have to. Call Chesapeake Urology at 877-422-8237. That's 877-422-8237. From the Supreme Neighborhood Market, gourmet again to the Terp Talk family. Now under the new ownership of Andy Huffman, Gourmet Again on 3717 Old Court Road continues its tradition of being a specialty food market with all meals, soups, and sandwiches being homemade. My family and all of Northwest Baltimore knows that Gourmet Again is the best market around. Let Gourmet Again cater any party or special occasion that you are having. I absolutely love Gourmet Again. Call 410-484-9393. Gourmet Again is open 7 days a week. Visit them on the web at gourmetagain.com. The phone number, once again, 410-484-9393. That's Gourmet Again.
Tune to Scott and Jeremy and play the SDR Certified Collision Center Throwdown, sponsored by SDR Certified Collision Center in Cockeysville, 410-771-0900 or SDRauto.com.
This is the Sports Maven Show, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, here's the Maven himself, Bruce Posner.
All right, wow, we got a lot to talk about, but before we do, as always, as the new year begins, it's time to thank my main sponsors, and of course, first we thank Science and Kirk, without question, the number one firm for injury accidents, personal injury accidents in this state, and probably in the country. Thing of In the Nest, of course, we're not on anymore because the Ravens are finished, and finished for this year, I should say, and just want to take a minute to really thank Donald and his three sons and Harvey Kirk and his sons, and the whole group has been fantastic for us, and we'll be back again in September when the Ravens start up again, and wow, we're going to have a head coach on the hot seat. All right, well, I think that's pretty obvious after what's happened and how he stuck with his coordinator. So that show is super, and we, of course, Donald is a co-sponsor of Science and Kirk. Coons Ford presents a Sports Maven every Saturday, and of course, Coons Ford once again for their sponsorship of my shows, and of course, Dennis's phenomenal input about the Ravens, about football in general, and a super friend, a super guy. All right, let's get down to our final topics for the day. We got a lot of them, Freddie. We'll start off with Clemson and Alabama. All right, Lane Kiffin gone. Steve Sarkisian now the offensive coordinator. For that reason, for the turmoil that could be in that program, for the lack of offense that team showed against a really bad Washington team in comparison to Alabama and Clemson, I'm thinking Clemson, take the 6.5 points. I think they're an outright winner on Monday night. Freddie, your take.
Well, last year, 44-40, Clemson narrowly lost to Alabama, the rematch, and I like their team overall. I like their team speed. I like their quarterback, and I like the idea that they got to the door this last year, and this year they're going to knock the door down and knock off Saban and the Bama Crimson Tide.
Deshaun Watson is you could make a case that he possibly should have been the Heisman Award winner.
I don't think so. But
all right, what's an opinion?
I know, but I don't think
he's been great down the wire. He's been great all along, and Deshaun Watson is just super. I think the quarterback edge goes to Clemson big time. That's why I think they're going to win. They seem to be that kind of team on a rise. But Alabama is Alabama.
They have an unbelievable, suffocating defense.
Without question.
They score more on defense than some teams score on offense.
And they wear you down. But this is going to be a great game. I can't wait for it. What was it, Monday night, 8:30? Correct? From Tampa?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. That is, and tickets are going for off the charts beyond belief.
There are so many Alabama fans who are more than willing to make that little trek to
and
Tampa.
Clemson.
How about Clemson?
Absolutely.
This is basically, the way I look at it, two Southeastern Conferences team playing for the championship.
All right, now we look at the NFL playoffs today and tomorrow, which are not as appealing per se. That doesn't mean they're going to be bad games, but when you start Connor Cook, his first start ever in the playoffs for Oakland. I loved Connor Cook at Michigan, but is he ready for this game? I don't think so. Houston, 3.5-point favorite, and they're going with Brock Osweiler. Freddie, these are two playoff teams. It doesn't seem like it with these quarterbacks.
This seems like the fourth exhibition game of the season.
But now, Seattle has made a tremendous addition to their team, all right? And this could be the difference for them to go all the way. Devin, I can't make a fair catch. Hester is now their punt returner. They picked him up. I'm sure they had to go for big bucks to get him because he was a disaster.
They must have a fumble Ruski play in their special teams playbook because, oh my goodness, can you believe that?
I cannot believe that they're saying this guy could be the difference. Did they watch him?
God.
Did they watch the guy back away from fair catches, wave his hands at every kickoff, avoid getting hit by running out of bounds? This guy had one run the entire season for the Ravens.
Is there a situation where they might play the Falcons? Because didn't Devin Hester play on the Falcons last year? I mean, we can move on, but I'm pretty sure it might just be an intel situation because he did play for the Falcons as recently as last year, and there is a scenario where the Seahawks might play the Falcons later on in the playoffs.
Miami, 10.5 dogs against Pittsburgh. Nobody believes that Matt Moore's up to the task. And I think that Pittsburgh is going to have a cakewalk to the championship
What's Pittsburgh?
game.
7 in a row now for Pittsburgh? 6 in a row? 7 in a row? They're on a good roll, and, of course, they have 3 superstars in their offense, and that's the difference in the game.
My upset special of the week, without question, is the Giants over Green Bay. The Giants are hot. They've won 2 Super Bowls on the road as a wild card. Green Bay's been up and down, tough to beat at Lambeau. There's no doubt about it. And I don't know what the weather is there, which will definitely be a factor. But at the end of the day, I like Mr. Beckham making the difference.
Eli Manning, the 2 Super Bowls, obviously, they swept the board. The other years they made the playoffs, and the Giants have never won a game, any playoff game other than the 2 Super Bowl years. So if the Giants win today, you could book them for the Super Bowl probably.
All right, Coach K has established a new definition of indefinite suspension. Indefinite now means 1 game because Grayson Allen came back and played against Georgia Tech, a team that had no shot at beating Duke if their entire first team didn't play. Georgia Tech this year is not a good team. Coach K brought Grayson Allen back after 1 game and said there's other punishments inside the team, a hogwash. They lost to Virginia Tech. He pulled the panic button and brought somebody back who's, I think, somewhat not stable right now. What he did and the way he reacted to it was almost beyond belief. Freddie, your take?
A kid that's very immature and was punished. They took away his captaincy of the team. They sat him for a game. And I think if it happens again, he'll have a longer suspension. I'm surprised the league didn't step in, but they kind of like acquiesce into Coach K a lot.
The Caps ended the Columbus 16-game win streak with a 5-0 win at Verizon on Thursday night. Totally dominant. They really whitewashed the team, and a big day for the Caps.
Caps in 4th place in their division, but yet
the record's great.
They're one of the better. They're playing tremendous hockey. They're about, I think, 53. They may have the 5th or 6th best record in the league and trail Columbus by, I think, 7 points or 5. But they're having an amazing year under the radar.
Yeah, in honor of Danny, 2 goals for Dele Alli, led Tottenham to a 2-0 win over his fabled Chelsea team.
Scoreboard.
All right,
Who's on the top
over
of the
his
table?
fabled Chelsea
16,
team,
6 points.
who still has a big lead in the Premier League. But Tottenham, Danny went from 5th to 3rd with 1 win.
Yeah.
That's how close it is.
Well, I mean, and also when Arsenal and Manchester City losing the same week, that's why I'm so salty about this Chelsea loss. But it was a great run.
All right, one of the great pass rushers in college football, Tennessee's Derek Bennett, signed with Drew Rosenhaus. Supposed to be a late first-round pick. Watch his stock rise. Watch his stock rise to a top 10 pick. And then last Saturday night, we have a guest UFC expert in here, Justin Goodman.
Friday.
It was Friday night. Friday night, right. They didn't want to do New Year's Eve, which was smart. Wow. Cody Garbrandt.
No love.
Upset Dominic Cruz, and Dominic Cruz considered one of the best. And Garbrandt, I just loved his style. He was a boxer that just had enough of the other talents I thought he beat the hell out of Cruz.
He danced. He beat the brakes off Dominic Cruz, who's arguably, you could argue that he's the best in the world.
Pound for pound.
Pound for pound, best in the world. No question. Beat Demetrius Johnson in D.C. not too long ago, 5-6 years ago. I was there for it. Crazy to think that somebody could go in there and do that to such a dominant champion for so many
and
years.
it was considered after what Dillingshaw was criticizing Cruz for fighting the number 6 guy.
Yep.
Right? This guy's not number 6. This guy, I watched that. Dillashaw is great, but is he going to be able to beat this?
I think so.
Garbrandt?
If you look at it, where does Dillashaw come from? Dillashaw comes from Team Alpha Male. He leaves with a coach who was there who had some problems with Uriah Faber, who is
on top of the world right now.
I'm sure, yeah, he's got to be loving it.
In his mind.
Somebody finally dethroned the guy who called him Team Alpha Fail because he just kept beating them, left and right.
Right. So you think, is that the next match against Dillashaw?
Yeah, even Cruz said, I'm fine with this. Let's go with that matchup. I think that putting TJ Dillashaw against Cody Garbrandt would be the fight, and then he'll take the winner.
Let me ask you a quick question. With MMA, 3 big names no longer really on top with Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, and John Jones. How's the MMA go from here now with the big three names from last year out?
I think it turns more into a bit of a freak show. You just look for the biggest matches that you can make the biggest story behind that people can get the most invested in, so that you can try to do those gates that are over 1 million buys. You need pay-per-views that sell over 1 million, and we had, I think, 4 this year, of which the Friday night, which is a weird night to do, but Friday night pay-per-view, it did. I think Dave Meltzer reported that it's going to do 1.1 million pay-per-view buys.
And that's it. How much per buy?
$65.
$60.
Yeah.
$70 million.
And on Friday night, and that's huge.
Yeah, but it was a Friday night holiday week. It really was.
And Rousey did no promotion.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't want to be no interviews. She thought that the talking heads of the world kind of ragged on her enough that she said, "That's it, I'm done." But if you look at the numbers, Conor McGregor runs the company. As he said, he's the reason why they put that $4 billion tag on there. He did 1.3 million buys it was 196 this year, 202 and 205. That's
right.
The guy.
Well, look, you had one of the biggest hedge funds in the country invest in this, buy the whole UFC. These are the smartest guys in the country. They know why. There'll be somebody new. There'll be a new guy, whether McGregor is or not. But I think we could say we've seen the last of Ronda Rousey. I think she's done. She got $3 million. She'll go into movies, maybe into the WWE, somewhere where she doesn't have to display her abilities as a fighter, because she obviously doesn't
First
have
female WWE champion. I'm calling it right now.
Oh, that's okay. Maybe not.
We already have that stuff. I mean, look. I'd love to see her back at WrestleMania. Why not? It's something she's very passionate about, something she loves, something she nicknamed her group
It's
after.
where she belongs. It's where she belongs.
She should have had a couple tune-up fights, a couple of the boxing old adage of, give them a couple easy fights and that'd be the end of it.
We are out of time. Let's go Terps against Michigan today. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Freddie. We will see you next week again on Coons Ford presents the Sports Maven Wednesday night Terp Talk. We'll have 2 big games to talk about. Have a great weekend, everybody.